many of us.
You're listening to the official Reformed Stoic podcast, covering politics, philosophy, theology, conspiracy theories. I'm ready to get to the bottom of this life. Are you? Join Wolfgang, Sketty Squad, Purity Gang, as we strive to take dominion over this dying planet. I am Reformed Stoic, and this is my podcast. Let's get it. Man, we got such a hoodie show for you guys today. I'm pumped. Let's go. All right, gang. Yes, sir. I had me a pineapple shake. Just took the whole freaking can of pineapples, dumped it in there with the juice. 3 tablespoons of sugar, scoop of protein, and an egg. You should probably put the pineapple can in the fridge the night before. I pulled it out of my cupboard and they were warm, so it was actually kind of gross because it was room temperature. Man, it was so sweet. It's got to be the sweetest thing I've ever consumed. It was a little over 100 grams of carbs. Yeah, it's actually like probably 120 grams of carbs, dude. So I'm ready to rock and roll today. Let's getty. So, in the past, I've tried to do a segment on feminism, and I was not able to really find anything relevant. But this time I searched feminist, and I got a lot more results when I searched feminist. So we got some interesting stuff for that, actually. Let's get it cranking for the news segment. You're listening to the Reformed Stoic News segment. Let's go. Alrighty, my friends. Let's go ahead and get the show on the flippin' road. Watch out, footy. So first off, we're going to cover Pelosi, the Pelosi attack. A lot of people are talking about that. That's still pretty hot off the press. We've yet to discuss it here. So, my friends, let's kick it off with MSNBC. Breaking: federal prosecutors file charges against suspect in attack on Paul Pelosi.
Federal prosecutors in San Francisco have just filed 2 charges against David DePape, alleging attempted kidnapping and retaliating against a federal official by threatening or injuring a family member. Joining me from outside of the Justice Department is NBC's Ken Delaney, and to give us all the details on this. I know this is as you expected. Talk about where this goes from here.
That's right, Alex. So these charges, just so people understand, are filed in parallel with the state charges that we expect today from the San Francisco district attorney. And that DA is going to file attempted murder charges, we're told. These 2 charges, though, are very serious. And the one you mentioned about attempting to injure an immediate family member of a federal official carries a maximum sentence of up to 30 years in prison. And DePape is also charged with attempted kidnapping. And in the news release announcing the filing of this federal complaint, the DOJ lays out the facts of the case, most of which we already know, but they add that that once officers arrested DePape, they've seized from him a roll of tape, white rope, a second hammer, a pair of rubber and cloth gloves, and zip ties from the crime scene. So further evidence that he came to that residence with a plan, and they recount the timeline as we understand it, which is that DePape broke into the residence, came up to the Pelosi bedroom, confronted Pelosi there. Pelosi managed to call 911. Officers arrived within minutes, witnessed the 2 struggling over the hammer, and then they say that DePape struck Mr. Pelosi with the hammer, injuring him. But very serious and important charges here. The federal government deciding that they needed to weigh in this assault of the husband of the Speaker of the House.
Yeah, absolutely. And real quick, Ken, you expect state charges to be filed today as well?
That's right. The district attorney is expected to file attempted murder charges, assault with a deadly weapon, elder abuse, and it's not clear which of these proceedings would go first, how it's all going to work out. Different crimes, obviously, but the full weight of law enforcement and the justice system coming down on the head of David DePape.
Okay, again, 2 federal charges: attempted kidnapping and that it is a crime to assault a family member of certain federal officials. Of course, Nancy Pelosi being one of the top of those. Thank you so much, Ken Delaney.
Let to see a fucking pit here. Homer, smash face. Dun 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 dun. I have a feeling it's coming out. Hammer smash face, baby. Yeah, it sounds like it's fucked up. I really haven't looked into this much. I'm too carved up for this bullshit. Don't these people know that I just had 120 grams of carbs? Man, fuck out of here, dude. It's only going to get worse, and it's like watching yourself on an airplane stuck in there fully, knowing what's happening but not able to avoid dying in the plane crash. We all see that we are headed into more disaster, but for some reason, nobody who can will stop it. That sounds like something somebody says right before like a Batman movie. Are we going to have like a vigilante come to power? Someone needs to stop this crime. The police aren't doing their jobs. I am Smearman. Amazing how quickly things get done around political people's lives. When are the police releasing the cam footage and security cam of the property? Surely camera sensors and audio would have captured the alarms going off. Glass smashed to get inside. All right, let's move on. GOP gubernatorial candidate draws laughter from crowd after mocking Paul Pelosi's attack. How dare you? Apologize to St. Floyd right now.
The Pelosi attack is ramping up fears of political violence here in the United States.
I smell a $2 trillion lawsuit.
In an already divisive climate right here in the nation's capital, Washington. There's a clear partisan split on whether Republican condemnation of Speaker Pelosi spurred her husband's attacker to act. CNN's Melanie Zanona is joining us from Capitol Hill right now. Melanie, a lot of Republicans have publicly...
Dude, what's that chick's name from Easy A and Superbad? That totally looks like her, dude.
...condemned the violence, but some are actually making jokes about it.
Yeah, that's exactly right, Wolf. I mean, instead of this moment of unity, what we have seen is Republicans actually mocking Paul Pelosi and the attack. In fact, Donald Trump Jr. tweeted out some really crude memes making fun of Paul Pelosi and the incident that happened. And then you have Carrie Lake, who is the Republican candidate for Arizona governor, who had this to say at a campaign event earlier today.
It is not impossible to protect our kids at school. They act like it is. Nancy Pelosi, well, she's got protection when she's in D.C. Apparently her house doesn't have a lot of protection. But
now, I would say most Republicans have condemned the attack, but a lot of them have been reluctant to acknowledge that some of the GOP's own rhetoric or their efforts to demonize Nancy Pelosi or their party's embrace of fringe conspiracy theories have contributed to the dangerous topic.
Bro, the whole thing about condemning the attack and like leftists are so just, you know, whenever Antifa does something, they're always like defending it and saying it's okay. Do you guys denounce Antifa burning down a Wendy's? No, because I mean, bro, there was some video footage of like store owners getting jumped and fucking killed by Antifa when shit was going down in like 2020. I mean, and this thing happens overnight and I barely even notice it. I got other shit going on and a day goes by. It's like, and there's all these people spurging, you're not condemning the attack. The Republicans aren't condemning the attack. That's your guy. That's a Republican guy. That's you guys. You didn't condemn it. It's over. I mean, I don't know, dude. It's just clearly one guy. It's like one psycho dude. Antifa is like a fucking terrorist organization, and they never even apologize for it, you know? So, I don't know.
Toxic political environment, or they have tried to blame both sides equally. And then Ronna McDaniel, the chair of the RNC, told Fox News that it's actually unfair to even suggest that political rhetoric contributed to the attack in any way. Take a listen.
I think that's unfair. I think this is a deranged individual. You can't say people saying, let's fire Pelosi or let's take back the House is saying go do violence. It's just unfair.
Meanwhile, GOP leader Kevin McCarthy was initially publicly silent about the attack, but he did come out on Saturday. He condemned the attack and all forms of political violence, but he did try to portray the attack as a broader crime issue. However, there is at least one Republican who disagrees with him, and that is Fred Upton. He is one of 10 House Republicans who voted to impeach Trump. He himself had been the subject of threats. He told me that he does believe his party bears some responsibility, that some of these Pelosi attack ads have gone too far, and that the Donald Trump tweets were disgusting. But, Wolf, I can tell you, it seems that as of right now, he is the minority voice in his party.
Melanie Zadona, thanks very much. Melanie reporting from Capitol Hill. Let's bring in our legal, law enforcement, and political experts right now. Shan Wu, you're our legal expert. As we learn more about the seriousness of Paul Pelosi's injuries and the circumstances of the attack, do you expect additional charges may be added?
Well, the charges they've already hit him with are quite serious and would result in significant jail time likely. On top of that, I'm expecting there'll be state charges filed too. There is the possibility of additional charges depending on what else they find, and at the sentencing stage, when they get there, they could actually seek an enhancement for a domestic terrorism charge here. But these charges are already very significant. They seem right on target, and DOJ has seemed a little reluctant to use that enhancement, at least when it comes to the January 6th rioters. They preferred to go with the more straight-ahead assault, trespass, destruction of property, and they seem to be doing that here. But again, these are very serious federal charges.
John Miller, what do you make of just how forthcoming the suspect was in his interview with police? He was read his Miranda rights, but he spoke extensively to the police. What stands out to you based on this affidavit that has now been released?
So many things, Wolf. It's a very rich affidavit in terms of the amount of information that they put in about their evidence. But let's go back to our suspect for a minute to get to the core of your question. Here's a guy who is involved in a high-risk activity. He's going to do a home invasion by himself with a hammer at the home of arguably the second most powerful person in the United States government in the line of succession for the presidency. So there is an extraordinary risk that any rational thinker would calculate that he's going to get caught. And yet, when his victim calls the police and he knows it was 911 and he knows the police are coming, he does not flee. He compares himself in a bizarre statement to being like our forefathers who fought the British. Surrender was not an option. So you have a guy who took the risk of getting caught, then knew he was going to get caught, and then got caught, and then gave his statements to police. So he's living out loud during this episode, and I think he wants to be known. He wants his voice to be heard. And, you know, the day before this event, he was a nobody from nowhere who was isolated and relatively estranged from his friends and family.
You want a footy? Okay. Let's see what the comments are saying. This is what happens when you don't tell your children no. Cringe. Very performative as always, so morally persuasive. How did this man get in Nancy's fortress-like house in her gated community again? What about the phone call where Paul described him as a friend? Interesting. Yeah, so Elon Musk tweeted something about some sort of a conspiracy about this. Deletes link to unfounded conspiracy theory. I'm very intrigued to hear about that. A lot of people are saying it's staged, of course. I still wonder how these people are able to hide their tails. Voltaire said it best. Is this a real Voltaire quote now? Those who can convince you of absurdities are those who can make you commit atrocities. Read through many of the threads related to this story and see for yourself all of the reprehensible and disgusting mocking, downplaying, victim blaming, dehumanizing, deflecting taking place. I'm confused. Was that actually supposed to be a joke? Elon Musk tweets, deletes link to unfounded conspiracy theory about Paul Pelosi attack. All right, here we go. This might actually be interesting.
Not surprisingly, the attack on Paul Pelosi is being wildly discussed on social media. Today, Twitter's new owner joined that conversation.
Elon Musk tweeted and then deleted a link to an unfounded conspiracy theory which prompted Bay Area Congresswoman Jackie Spear to get involved. Here's NBC Bay Area's Christy Smith.
Questions still remain following the violent assault on Paul Pelosi, husband of House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, at their San Francisco home. Police haven't determined a motive, and today Elon Musk, the new owner of Twitter, weighed in, tweeting a link to a baseless claim about Paul Pelosi.
Okay. There's a tiny possibility there might be more to the story than meets the eye. Are they going to tell us what it is? Probably not.
First thing that came to mind is that he is really confirming for all of us folks who are watching what we feared could be the worst outcome of his takeover of Twitter.
Grant Keehan is a professor in the Department of Communication at Cal State East Bay.
It's not a surprise. He's quite good, quite a savvy manipulator.
So we're not going to see what this theory was? So why would I give a shit if I haven't seen the theory? Maybe it was a great theory. Maybe it was fucking spot on. I mean, you're not even showing me the theory, and so I'm going to listen to this guy Kvetch now about it? Like, really, dude? Let's be outraged about some theory we don't even fucking know what it is. Cringe.
Manipulator of social media, and if we look into his history, Mr. Musk has clearly no qualms about messing around and trolling online. So we have a lot to watch for in the next couple of days, but also in the next couple of months.
Musk's tweet was in response to a tweet by former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, referencing an article about the alleged attacker. Clinton wrote, quote, "The Republican Party and its mouthpieces now regularly spread hate and deranged conspiracy theories. It is shocking, but not surprising that violence is the result. As citizens, we must hold them accountable for their words and actions." Musk responded, "There is a tiny possibility there's more to this story than meets the eye," with a link to a website that has a history of publishing false information.
So there are many reasons why.
And we don't get to see the information and decide for ourselves. So I guess we'll just take your word for it. We don't get to see it, huh? And this is news, and this is supposed to be like real news.
He might have gone ahead and done this, and I think that the impulse to do it in the first place, if it was an impulsive act, would have something to do with the ownership aspect, just showing that this is his now.
Musk's tweet has since been deleted, but not before Bay Area Congresswoman Jackie Spear tweeted back, "Your town square is going to become the town dump if you don't recant this reprehensible, untrue post."
Okay, so she's making a death threat. So she's like threatening to attack somebody's fucking city. So that's the real news here, is this crazy fucking woman is threatening to attack people's homes. But we don't even really see what Elon Musk is talking about. So this is really like cringe, dude. This is terrible reporting.
For him to make that kind of a blunder, it's out there in the atmosphere now. It will be repeated over and over again.
What kind of a blunder? What will be repeated? You didn't even show us what the fuck he was talking about. This isn't news, bro. And then, yeah, for them to accuse anyone else, it has a history of posting false information. Really, NBC? Yeah, okay.
He has taken that down.
Twitter did not immediately respond to a request for comment. However, last week, Musk said he would ease the rules about what type of speech is allowed on the social media platform. Christy Smith, NBC Bay Area News.
And we are continuing to follow this Paul Pelosi attack investigation closely. Our team is posting new details as we get them. You can find it all on NBCBayArea.com. It is a top story on our homepage and app.
Huh. Thanks, NBC. Now everyone will be trying to figure out what the deleted tweet said. Most are still trying to figure out if he was in the car alone. So we shouldn't figure out what the tweet said? So, man, I just really don't understand the way these people think. So it's definitely not true. It's definitely unfounded. but we shouldn't even be allowed to know what it said? Man, that's just really making me curious about what it fucking said. I mean, next up we have an entire article about it, and I'm guessing they're not going to say what it was in that article either. These people are just brain dead, man. Holy it's just a big talking head that says, do not look, close your eyes, look straight ahead of you, do not look from side to side, ignore the man behind the curtain. Like, this is unbelievable. Controlled opposition at its best. All the actors are in play. Yeah, that's what I'd say. This country is just becoming a hotbed of, like, spook ops, you guys. Mainstream media is reporting on Elon Musk because 90% of what actually happened can't be reported. Oh, man. Release the security footage and the police body cams. They're real quick to debunk stuff like this. Well, I didn't see anything about Twitter. I didn't see her say Twitter. She said where you live in your city or your town. So I would definitely never, like, make an assumption about anything. People just said what they said. Words just mean what they mean. She said city or town, so I don't know what that has to do with Twitter. I like having a thought outside the mainstream narrative is now a conspiracy theory. Quit trying to police thought. It's desperate behavior and it's embarrassing. Yep. Look at these NPCs. And what are you doing, my friend, with all the rest of this thread but policing thought? It's not embarrassing. They're shameless. Yeah, they are shameless. That's true. If it's conspiracy theory, why not release the body cam footage and end it? Oh, it's so fucking over, bro. I've never heard about Twitter equaling a town square. Town square to me sounds like town square, so. And of course, if any right-winger says anything that can be open to interpretation, like, nobody's going to let them off easy, so. When you can't defend the story, demonize the people pointing out the inconsistencies. Well, this sounds like a pretty big nothing burger. Okay, CNN, yikes. Any chance you can tell us what the frick the conspiracy theory even is? Absolutely no evidence. Police, FBI affidavit debunks slanderous conspiracy theory about Pelosi attack push. Oh, well, the FBI said that it didn't happen. Okay. Okay. Well, if the FBI said it didn't happen, then we know it didn't happen, bro. Case closed. Well, that clears it up for me. Prominent figures on social media, including some of the loudest voices on the political right, are pushing a salacious and false conspiracy theory about the attack on House Speaker Nancy Pelosi's husband in an apparent attempt to shift the narrative about the result. The claim that big names like Elon Musk, Donald Trump Jr., and Dinesh D'Souza have promoted to millions of their followers. Paul Pelosi and the man who attacked him were gay lovers who had gotten into a fight. Ha 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 ha. Woo! Well, there we go. Credit where credit's due. CNN said it. They're gay lovers who had gotten into a fight. Oh, man. The spurious theory traces back to an incorrect early news report and a handful of pieces of evidence that its proponents have spun wildly out of context. It runs contrary to the explanation police and federal law enforcement have outlined, that the suspect in the attack, David DePape, broke into Pelosi's house and attacked him. There's absolutely no evidence that Mr. Pelosi knew this man, San Francisco Police Chief William Scott told CNN in an interview. As a matter of fact, the evidence indicates the exact opposite. But the explosion of social media posts discussing the theory shows how quickly conspiracies can spread, and how eagerly some political actors use falsehoods to push their agendas, even as violent threats against lawmakers have multiplied in recent years. CNN talking about pushing an agenda. They're pushing an agenda. Like, you guys, the news just has no self-awareness at this point. They know that a lot of people see through their bullshit. They're just talking to the people who are just complete goy slop mind slaves, bro. They're hanging on. They're hanging on at this point. A conspiracy linked to Nancy Pelosi, who has long been a lightning rod for conservatives and played a starring role in GOP attack ads, was an especially appealing target for right-wing conspiracists, according to Cynthia Miller Idris, an American university professor who studies polarization and extremism. Oh, wow, she studies polarization and extremism. Wow, I'm sure I'm going to love her opinions. We have a population that is unable to discern what is true and what's not. And this spreading of misinformation from credible sources undermines that. A Miller Idris said, people are willing to accept conspiracy theories when they reinforce the narrative they already hold in their head. Well, yeah, people are willing to accept everything CNN says when it already confirms the theories they're holding in their head. That's all you got, huh, from your wonderful like education on extremism? People don't believe the news. People are believing in fake news. And that was a master's degree in extremism. Wow, thank you. Thank you for your perspective, sweetie. The kitchen's that way. According to police, an FBI affidavit included in the federal criminal complaint, DePape broke into a glass door in Pelosi's San Francisco home early Friday morning and then went to the bedroom to confront Pelosi, saying he wanted to talk to his wife. Pelosi managed to call 911, and officers arriving on the scene witnessed DePape hit him with a hammer. Why is it our problem, you know? Like, what happens when a regular jack-off goes through a home invasion? You know, home invasions happen all over the place, happen all the time. Not to mention, like, black people get killed by cops all the time. Now, we are living in a time where pretty much any time a black guy is killed by a cop, it does become, like, some worldwide story. But not all the time, man. Sometimes some fucking black dude in the hood gets fucking killed and nobody gets famous and nobody hears about it and they don't become like a saint of pop culture. So sometimes people's homes get broken into and it's not all over the news. This whole like victimized celebrity, these people who become celebrities because they were in a school shooting or their family got killed by the cops, or they're a politician. I mean, shit happens, dude, and it's kind of weird, this new, like, victim celebrity culture. Those pushing the gay lover theory have pointed to a handful of purported pieces of evidence based on falsehoods and twisted storylines. They say that DePape was in his underwear when police arrived at the scene, but the local TV station that originally reported that has since corrected its story and removed the assertion. Yeah, probably under threat of murder. Others have suggested that a third person opened the door to Pelosi's house, but police have debunked that. Yeah, because police never lie. Many of the theorists have latched on to a recording of a 911 dispatcher saying that Pelosi referred to DePape as a friend and sounded somewhat confused. But Pelosi seemed to be speaking in coded language on the... Oh, it was coded language. Okay. Yeah, it was coded language. Well, that kind of sounds like your spin on it. You know what I mean? Doesn't that kind of sound like your unverified, unfounded spin? Now, wait a minute. You're saying that their evidence is unverified, but isn't that kind of unverified that you're saying she's speaking in code? But Pelosi seemed to be speaking in code. I screwed it up. Seemed. Keyword. Seemed. Pelosi seemed to be speaking in code. Well, we don't know. We don't have any evidence that suggests that, so I don't know. Maybe she wasn't. Maybe he really was a friend. I mean, by the law of going by Occam's razor, like what's the more likely of an explanation? She's speaking in a fucking secret code language, or she's just saying what she meant? So by appealing to Occam's razor, it is more reasonable to believe that he actually is a friend. So actually, this whole fucking entire article is a conspiracy theory. CNN is releasing a twisted conspiracy theory narrative that's completely unfounded, that Pelosi was speaking in some sort of an alien code language. Eep boop boop bop beep boop bop. Hizzer nizzer, like, what the fuck are you a code language? That's a conspiracy theory, bro. A law enforcement source previously told CNN, and the complaint notes that Pelosi told officers he had never seen DePape before. Yeah, well, if it was his gay lover, he's, trying to cover his ass. I'm just playing devil's advocate here, dude. I don't really give a shit about any of this. Something tells me this is some sort of an op. I think our country is drowning in ops at this point. Just like I said, I don't want to debate people who I suspect of being intelligence actors. I don't really want to, get sucked into these ops. You kind of just got to stay out of this shit. The complaint also concluded an interview police did with DePape in which he admitted breaking into the house and said he surprised Pelosi. According to the complaint, DePape said that wanted to hold Nancy Pelosi hostage because he viewed her as the leader of the pack of lies told by the Democratic Party. It's all been a pack of lies, and claimed he was fighting against tyranny without the option of surrender. The baseless theory is gaining momentum. Shut it down. All right. Well, that's that. That's a good little well-rounded segment on the Pelosi stuff. Pretty much a nothing burger. Nobody really got hurt. It sounds like he got beat up a little bit, but shit happens, bro. It is kind of weird that people are able to get into their homes so easily. I feel like they're rich people in a gated community. And now's not a bad time to tighten up on security, buckos. As someone who is a comfy enthusiast, home invasions of any kind are not comfy. I don't support home invasions. We should all be comfy and cozy and safe in our home. Now we're going to see what's going on with feminists. I wanted to do this segment a long time ago. Typing in feminism did not give many results, but as you can see here, feminist news gave me some results. Some of them are maybe a couple months ago. We're going to see what's been happening with feminism with our feminist buddies. For Gen Z, #MeToo is a so what? Wow. 10.5 minutes of this. I'm intrigued. Let's go. Gen Z doesn't care about Me Too.
Many of us had been holding this secret about Harvey Weinstein for many years, and a lot of people have a lot of shame that is built around any kind of sexual assault. Some people can never talk about it and never do, and can die with that, holding that secret.
In October of 2017, actress Rosanna Arquette, best known for her roles on Pulp Fiction and Desperately Seeking Susan, was one of the first of about 100 women to come forward with sexual harassment allegations against Hollywood media mogul Harvey Weinstein.
So when you just think about the fact that it's been 5 years since the start of the Me Too movement, what's just your first reaction to that, 5 years passing?
Galvanized the movement amongst globally around the world for women and all survivors. I'm proud of it. Look where we are now. So much work to do, but it was a really important time in our world. It was a seminal moment in contemporary history.
Days after Arquette made her accusation, the #MeToo took off on Twitter, and people around the world shared their own experiences of harassment and assault. It seemed to impact all industries, and it seemed to make real progress. According to a New York Times analysis in 2018, the Me Too movement brought down 201 powerful men, and nearly half of their replacements were women.
The younger generation, you are much wiser. You have a lot more than what we had now, the tools to take it to the next level, and please do.
So, let's just be really cut and dry here, guys. I have all kinds of perspectives on here. One of them is very reasonable, and one of them is not going to sound... One of them is going to make me sound like kind of an asshole. I'm going to start with that one. I'm going to start with the one that makes me sound like an asshole. A lot of these Hollywood chicks, it's like, hey, sweetie, you want the part? Zip, suck my cock. Okay? And it's like, that's a business deal. Do you want the part? He's making you an offer. Okay, here you want said part, then you need to suck said cock. And the women think about it, and they say, okay, I do want the part, so I'm going to suck this guy's cock. And ultimately, 5 years go by, and then they regret it, and then they make a big deal about it, like something bad happened. I mean, hey, if you don't want the part, then, you're allowed to say no. It's fucked up, and I guess what it's coming down to is you shouldn't be allowed to do that. But, ultimately a guy any guy probably who like wants to do something other than being like gay for pay. Let's say a guy is like, he goes gay for pay on like cams. He starts like cranking it for fucking millionaires. And then 5 years later, he's like, I cranked it on cam for millionaires. It's like, well, but anybody could do that, bro. Anybody could do that. Anybody can be a hooker. Anybody can make these kind of deals. And guess what? You just fucking don't. I've never fucking cranked it on cam for millionaires. I know I could probably go to Hollywood and start sucking off guys for fucking parts in Hollywood, but I don't. That's why I'm not a fucking Hollywood actor. So a lot of these women, you meet the big fucking piece of shit with the cigars, like, say, you want the part, sweetie? Well, this is what you got to do for the part. And then you did it, and then you got the part, and then you got the fame and the money that came along with that part. But then, you know, crocodile tears 5 years later. I mean, it's just a deal. A deal's a fucking deal. It ain't a pretty deal. That's why I ain't taking the deal. That's why all kinds of people aren't taking the fucking deal. This is the most clear example of you want to eat your cake and have it too. You want the part, you sucked the dick for the part, and then 5 years go by, and it's fucking stupid, man. So there's that, okay? There's the opinion that makes me sound like an asshole. Now, here's the well thought out, reasonable. Here's the more reasonable side that I think people can get on board with. This is rich people shit. This is rich people shit. The hashtag #MeToo was all about turning middle working class women against middle working class men because a multi-million-dollar Hollywood big shot got a bunch of fucking actresses to fuck him. It's like, oh, my working class, middle class boyfriend, you're a piece of shit because of what's going on in Hollywood. Because of what big wig billionaires, it's like, okay, so here's another way. Here's like really the best way to look at this is that corruption was exposed in Hollywood. What did we realize? That Hollywood multimillionaires are doing something bad. And so what is the media response? Middle class, working class men are sexists. It was literally just the actions of multimillionaires being blamed on working class, middle class men. And I'm sorry, women, but you weren't too fucking bright about it either. You all just jumped on board and spurged out. And so that's my thoughts on it. It's fucking stupid for a number of reasons.
We wanted to know, 5 years in, what impact did this huge cultural moment and movement have on the generation to follow in its wake? We talked to students from coast to coast, and it turns out, for Gen Z, Me Too is kind of a so what.
Do you think the Me Too movement did something substantial?
It's like we only heard about Me Too when celebrities were involved.
These young women at Coastal Carolina University say, in many ways, things haven't really changed.
It was never Me Too when, something happened on a college campus. It wasn't Me Too when someone just went to work at a regular corporate office. It's not Me Too when maybe it's a black man saying that he was assaulted.
When domestic violence and sexual assault and different crimes happen on college campuses, I think they are lessened in a way. I think that you're told you shouldn't go out, with your girls, or you shouldn't dress like this.
But then something happens, and you can't say Me Too, because nobody's going to listen.
So to you, it really didn't have much impact on your life?
Absolutely not. It couldn't have. If it did.
Actually kind of based, dude. This is actually kind of based what these girls are saying. They're agreeing with me. That it's like, this is like rich people. Oh my gosh, I'm a Hollywood actress who's a fucking millionaire, and I got diddled by a fucking Hollywood hotshot who's a multi-millionaire. You middle-class women should spurg out at your middle-class husband. It's like, no, that just sounds like a bunch of like, evil, like Moloch worshipping fucking Hollywood Satanists doing whatever the fuck it is they do, bro. It doesn't have anything to do with regular people. Sounds like Hollywood's full of fucking scumbags, just like Pizzagate says. Well, no, that's not what it's about. It's about men being evil. It's about average men being evil. No, this is about Hollywood being full of fucking sick, perverted fucks. And everybody already knows that. it's ultimately like a right-wing conservative point. Like, yeah, we've been saying Hollywood's evil as fuck for a long time. You should listen to us. Pizzagate's probably real. There you go.
Wow. Okay. Someone doing something for black women. That's even hard to believe there. That's shocking. I mean, I would be jumping for joy if Me Too would have done anything.
And these young women aren't alone.
Raise your hand if you're concerned about sexual assault. Every single woman and several men are concerned about sexual assault.
Imagine being a guy who didn't raise his hand. Wait, did that guy not raise his hand?
Every single woman and several men.
Let's go. Chetty! Like his hands are folded. Let's go. Dude, this guy. Yo, this guy doesn't give a fuck. Look at this guy. Yo, this guy doesn't care. Oh, wait, he's holding the mic. He's the one who said it. Look at this Chad. Blue suit jacket, hands full in his pocket. Chatty right behind him. Chatty. Chatterson. Dude, look at these Chads. Not even phased. Not even phased. Bring it on. Wow. Okay. That was aggressive.
Are concerned about sexual assault.
John Della Volpe is the director of polling at Harvard's Institute of Politics. He gathered a group of Gen Zers to ask about movements that have impacted them. Me Too didn't come up until he asked.
Feels like forever ago. I was, I think, a freshman in high school when that took off, all of the allegations. I mean, I honestly forgot that it feels like forever ago.
And it's more than just the Me Too reckoning. When it comes to feminism, attendees mostly rejected the label.
What does it mean to be a feminist today?
That's a really good question.
I think there's a certain stigma that goes along with being a feminist, at least in my mind.
Yeah, well, let's hear it.
Almost this extremist view. I think that a lot of labels are viewed as something that's very extremist.
Now, it's not just this apathy to the movement that exists. There's a much darker side that's developed over the last 5 years, especially with Gen Z males. A total rebellion to any feminist notion whatsoever, and a blossoming of misogynistic content with...
That gave me an idea for a new meme. It has like a soy boy or a feminist, and it's like, so what was your thoughts on the Me Too movement? And then it's just Chad, just completely unfazed. And then maybe it has details about like maintaining direct eye contact, didn't even fucking flinch. Or like the beta raises his hand when asked if you care about sexual harassment versus the Chad didn't even flinch, never broke eye contact, didn't even move one single muscle, literally didn't even register that anything was said.
Billions of views.
There are plenty of people who prey, I think, on these specifically young men, trying to lure them in to a community where they can feel better, they can feel some strength, and then that strength turns into a community which has a very different view.
Jaw so square that the words just literally bounced off his jaw, dude. Unfazed.
I think, of what's right and what's wrong. They talk very openly about their views of women and the rules around rape. It's okay to rape women of a particular race as long as they're within our race rather than other women.
You heard that right.
I don't think anybody thinks that. I don't think anybody thinks that, dude. Oh, a white woman. No, wait. Should I even go to like, I'm like standing on the sidewalk. Oh, I'm just waiting for a woman to... let's see. Nope, she's a black woman. Not allowed to rape black women. Aha! A white woman. Now we're getting somewhere. Like, dude, I'm sorry. Like, who the fuck ever said that? That's just ridiculous.
Content that normalizes rape. It's a rabbit hole that's easier to slide down than you'd think. Made up of groups you may have never heard of, but millions of viewers are succumbing to their influence. Groups like MRA, or men's rights activists, that focus on what they see as discrimination against men, but critics see it as a gateway to darker misogynistic behavior. Or the pickup artists. They insult women to undermine their confidence. And there are the incels, involuntary celibates.
Incels, pickup artists, chauvinists. Together we have the power of... patriarchy. Or it could be like the Power Rangers. It could be like the Power Rangers. Mammoth. Like incels. Dun, 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 dun. I summon the power of incels. Dun, 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 dun. I summon the power of pickup artists. And then they create the Zord, and then the Megazord is like the patriarchy. We're all working together.
United in their rejection by women, and then their subsequent rage.
You guys ever heard of Cat before?
And with this generation, one name in particular comes up a lot.
This guy called Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate.
Andrew Tate.
Dude, I just imagine two Chads standing right, like they look exactly the same. One of them has a shirt that says incel. The other has a shirt that says a pickup artist. Hi, I'm an incel. Hi, I'm a pickup artist. They like look exactly the same. They're the same thing, bro. It's all just hate speech patriarchy.
Andrew Tate's made big headlines lately.
You're a normal man with a normal job. You don't really exist in the online world, and a lot of men feel lost and lonely because of that.
He's a 35-year-old internet celebrity and known as the king of toxic masculinity. He's become so notorious that he's been banned from Meta platforms and TikTok. In an interview in January, he said misogyny is just realism.
If you're a realist, then to some degree you're going to be a sexist.
Let's go. This guy, I don't know, man. I was making judgments about this guy before I even watched him because he's got so famous, dude. He got so famous so fast. I think, like, never give this guy money. My take on Andrew Tate, just never give this guy money and then you're good. You're all good. Like, yeah, sure. A lot of what he says is based. Never give this guy a cent for anything and you'll be all right.
Women are effectively children. Women have to be monitored and maintained and maintained effectively like a child would.
What validates him is children, and when I say children, I mean children watching him.
I've heard from other teachers that, like, kids in elementary and middle school idolize him, like young boys are idolizing him and they want to do projects on him and speeches on him because they just think everything he says is so groundbreaking and wonderful, but it's just perpetuating violence against women.
Before Tate was removed from Instagram, the majority of his 4.9 million followers were young men.
Welcome to Hustlers University.
His own Hustlers University is an online school he started himself.
Yeah, see what I'm talking about? Don't pay for that.
Which
Don't
teaches
pay for
these
that.
young men how to be alpha males and make money. Its website claims to have over 100,000 members. A representative for Tate told us, quote, his content has been misunderstood by those too lazy to properly watch it. Content like Tate's sucked one young man we spoke to down that rabbit hole. Ian Lang is a college student and considers himself a former men's rights activist.
You see that video, what do you start seeing pop up on your YouTube?
On my YouTube feed just becomes flooded with all of these feminist-owned men's rights activists. Feminists don't want you to watch this video, clickbait targeted at people just like me.
And what did you think when you start noticing this is what you're being served up, video after video on YouTube?
When you're a 14-year-old who's just looking for something to watch, I don't think you think about a whole lot. I don't think it really comes through your head.
What do you think that says about 14-year-old young men who are just on a continual loop for whatever YouTube suggests, or TikTok for that matter?
I think the algorithm is really stacked against them on that one. I think after you watch a video or two, I think it's hard to not go deeper because it's really easy to keep on going.
If you hadn't been served a video like that based on what you had been watching prior, would you ever have sought out content about men's rights activism?
I don't think so. If there's not an outside factor, if there's not someone who can come in and help pull them out, they will not get out.
And Lang hopes to be that outside factor.
More equality for other people isn't less equality for you.
Now, his TikTok channel focuses on bringing other young men away from an algorithm he says is stacked against them and geared toward making them hate women.
I joined the feminist community and I haven't looked back since.
Do you think that
I joined the feminist community and I haven't looked back since. Dude, he's got some sort of like burns on his face. Do they torture this guy?
the Me Too movement almost fired up some of these communities more?
I think so.
Look at what's wrong with his face, dude. He's got like red. Dude, I think they tortured this guy and like forced him to be a feminist. Let's go.
Yeah, I think I think when there's a lot of discussion about men being potential like sexual assaulters, rapists, etc., I think it's really easy for a lot of men to get defensive about that, even though that's not a label that would apply to them.
Dude, he looks like the guy from the Gillette commercial. Oh wait, the guy from the Gillette commercial. Well, he does look like one of the guys from the Gillette commercial, but it's the guy who got cucked by the black guy. He's like, no. Don't you dare walk towards those girls with a smile on.
Rosanna Arquette wonders if women are living in a better world 5 years later, or if things have gotten worse.
There's clearly been a backlash from it all because the patriarchy has reared its very ugly head.
And we're going to fucking smash you down, sweetie. Nobody destroys the patriarchy because the patriarchy is biblical. And you need to learn to explain it to women in a way that's not like... You got to be mature about it, guys, because the reality is that patriarchy is biblical. The man runs the house. Wife is second in command. Wife has command over the kids, but the man's got command over the wife. That's the way it was. That's the way God made it. And these sweeties are going to have to get smacked down, unfortunately, for the sweeties.
Now we're witness to it.
And for a young person who thinks, that wasn't for me, that wasn't about me, what would you say to them?
It scares me when someone says that because it's all for you, you know? It's absolutely all for you. I mean, I did this for my daughter.
But you were in Pulp Fiction, and they're going to probably... I mean, let's be real. Every girl has like a golden ticket straight to the upper middle class at this point, like men used to have when they were boomers. Basically, guys, if you're observing like how women are just waltzing, like they're just like gliding through college. It's so insane, dude. I had so many bad times in college. I was so conflicted in college, and I was getting good grades. I was upset when I'd get B's. I thought I deserved to be an A student, and I'd get B's in these classes I was busting my ass in. That's the kind of shit that was upsetting me academically, but the way that women just glide through college and get the bachelor's degree like it's nothing, because what kind of stress are they dealing with? What fucking, like, douchebag sorority frat bro do I want to bang tonight? Like, they just party, and, yeah, you know, women get in fights with each other, but women just fucking glide through college, and then they get any job they interview for. That's how it used to be for men in the baby boomer generation, man. And then, yeah, this girl was in Pulp Fiction, and, yeah, I think a lot of, like, middle-class, upper-middle-class women aren't going to care.
So that she would be able to have her own voice and be able to stand up to her, you know, an abuser and be...
And then let's be real. Then there's women who are poor. Then there's women who are on welfare. And they're probably embracing... I'm just, like, taking a shot in the dark here. Poor women on food stamps and welfare... They're probably into this Me Too shit more than fucking anybody. And I definitely know a few of them, just anecdotal evidence. There's a few, like, poor women, alcoholics out there, you know, former drug addicts, in and out of rehab, in and out of jail. They got kids. They're on food stamps and welfare. And they're all fired up about Me Too because they're fucking dumb.
Be able to speak her truth.
Are you hopeful? And if so, why?
I'm hopeful.
Bro, this is the girl in Pulp Fiction when John Travolta goes to buy heroin. And that guy, he's like, who's the chick with all the shit in her face? It's like, that's my girlfriend, bro. That was her. This was the girl who had all the piercings and had to administer the adrenaline shot. She was there when they gave the adrenaline shot to Uma Thurman.
Because I believe in the power of truth, justice, and freedom, and democracy. And if we lose hope, then life is not worth living.
Thanks for watching our YouTube channel. Follow today's top stories.
Sounds like there's hope for Gen Z. Let's go. It's time for Men Too equality. Real. What's continuously missing is intervention for abusers before acting on abuse. People of all colors stimulate each other and spice things up in American society. Make it vibrant, alive, loving, and active. At least you're able to speak your mind. This guy's based. All very messy. Simpler with landlines. Autumn for me. Good luck, Gen Z. You're going to have to save us to save yourself. How about y'all stay off of social media? Let's go. All right. We used up quite a bit of time on just that one segment. Despite a backlash, is feminism losing cultural vitality? So this is 4 months ago.
Welcome back. As we've been discussing over the past several weeks, the country is awaiting a decision from the U.S. Supreme Court that certainly suggests the end of Roe v. Wade. Former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton discussed that in a new interview with the Financial Times, and it reads in part, the level of insidious rulemaking to further oppress women almost knows no end. Clinton says, you look at this, and how could you not but think that Margaret Atwood was a prophet? She's not just a brilliant writer, she was a prophet. Clinton adds that when
we're standing on the precipice of losing our democracy. The thing is, guys, is you're hearing a lot of like pretty intelligent guys, a lot of conservatives, and then obviously the liberals on the left. You hear all these people who are like kind of midwits who just they'll go on some passionate speech about how we're losing our democracy. This is real democracy. This is how I see it, guys, is that we're a cycle where the depopulation machine turns on and there's a world war and there's chaos. And there's a number of things. Like I feel like the fentanyl epidemic was a bait and switch. You get people hooked with the opiates. All kinds of people get prescribed opiates for their back and pain and shit. You know, the oxycodone and the hydrocodone. And then that turned into heroin. And then they turned the heroin into fentanyl. Boom. People are dropping like fucking flies, dude. I mean, we all know CIA was behind crack in the 80s or the 90s. So, yeah, bro. I mean, it's some Depop 101. COVID, Depop, World War, Depop. This is just half of the country hates the other half of the country. A lot of people are wising up, and this is exactly what democracy is. I'm sorry, like Hitler said it pretty spot on. It's in no way, shape, or form for the people. It's about dividing the populace in half, pitting them against each other while they're strategically dominated. Each side is strategically dominated and manipulated by the democracy makers. And now he said that the democracy makers were Jews, but that's not how I see it. But yeah, the democracy makers is the system, the Anglo-American establishment. Deep state.
she was a senator, she voted against the confirmation of Samuel Alito, one of the court's most conservative judges. I found Alito was the kind of young man who, when he was at Princeton, railed against coeducation, railed against letting women into eating clubs, and that was all in the background that I read, she recalls. He honestly struck me as one of those very self-righteous types seeking to remake society. And joining us now, co-founder and CEO of the group All In Together, Lauren Leader, and columnist for the New York Times.
Dude, I'll never forget this girl's face. We've seen this girl before. Something about this girl's face, man. What is it about this girl's face? You know when people say they hate somebody's face? Like, just something about... like, she's just... I don't know. Something about her face, bro. Like, she knows it all. She knows it all. Here comes the wisdom.
Times and an MSNBC contributor, Michelle Goldberg, who writes about a changing perception of feminism. The piece is titled, "The Future Isn't Female Anymore." And Michelle writes this: The Drift, a buzzy literary journal founded by left-leaning women in their late 20s, published a series of short essays earlier this year under the rubric, What to Do About Feminism.
Trust it.
They described an ambient feeling that feminism has been sapped of cultural vitality, even as an anti-feminist backlash is gathering momentum, and that young people especially were turning against the movement. Predictably, most young Republicans agree with the statement. Feminism has done more harm than good. What was astonishing was how many young Democrats agreed as well. Nearly a quarter of Democratic women under 50 agreed, compared with only 10% of those 50 and older.
So basically what we're seeing in the last segment, or the last news video, and then also this one, is the system, the media, Hollywood celebrities. What? They're not accepting our plot. They're not accepting what we're telling them. Hey, girls. Hey, you stupid, like, average middle-class midwits. I know you guys are poor. I know that you're like your parents aren't rich like my parents. I know you didn't go to a fucking Ivy League school like me. But hey, get fucking mad like we're telling you to, sweetie. You're supposed to be mad. You're supposed to listen to whatever we say. You see that? She's a big Hollywood actress. She was in Pulp Fiction. Were you in Pulp Fiction? No. So be offended. Do as you're told.
It is perhaps inevitable that a movement that was the height of fashion in the last decade would start to seem passé in this one. Feminism is particularly given to cycles of matricide. What is liberating to one generation is often mortifying to the next. As the backlash gains steam, a lot of feminism feels enervated. There's been a desperate hope among reproductive rights activists and Democratic strategists alike that the end of Roe v. Wade would lead to an explosive feminist mobilization. It's far from clear whether a political groundswell will materialize. And Michelle, I'll let you take that point another step further. Are you seeing it? Are you seeing that reaction to this potential decision that's coming?
And then also what they said in the last video was that, you know, in spite of this movement, it seems like women are getting unhappier. I mean, this right here, we're going to get to this eventually. Why 60 years of feminism has not made women any happier. So they're basically acknowledging, regardless of whatever they say, that, you know, all of this chaos that women are becoming a part of, it's not even doing anything positive. It's just ruining relationships and ruining the country and ruining the world, and women are becoming more miserable. It's unbelievable.
I mean, certainly there's a lot of anger and grief out there, but part of the genesis of this piece was trying to understand why there hadn't yet been, you know, people pouring into the streets, why there was nothing on the scale of the Women's March after Donald Trump's election, or the just flurry of organizing that accompanied it. There's, I think, a feeling of exhaustion, despair, disillusionment right now that is incompatible with a lot of activism.
Yeah, you know, it's funny, Lauren, later, right after I think Trump won, and we had the women's marches and the pink hats, and a lot of people were like, well, what does that really mean? Oh, it meant a lot at the midterms. It meant a lot in terms of women turning out the vote. But I don't see that right now. What's going on, do you think?
Yeah, well, Michelle's right. There is a lot of fatigue on the left generally, and I think a frustration among women that we're going backwards, that it feels like our political system is sort of hopeless. I think the other problem is among younger women voters, there's a lack of patience in a sense. We think we're going to get everything all at once, that by turning one election, by winning the Senate, the House, and the White House, that overnight a whole bunch of things are going to happen. And that's just not the reality of how our political system, and we've talked before about younger voters and their sort of apathy about the sense that they're not getting what they want from our political leaders. And rather than that being galvanizing to work longer, harder for the long term, it's turning them off. I also think, look, I think that on the left, I mean, on the right, there has been an extraordinarily effective movement over 40 to 50 years to paint feminism as a negative. And it has worked in many ways. It has always been a complicated term.
Oh, it's worked, and it was fucking easy. It wasn't even hard. It's negative. The title of this article, Why 60 Years of Feminism Has Not Made Women Any Happier. You know what it's done? It's made men more miserable. It's ruined families. It's ruined everything. Like, and then even the segment before this, talking about the conspiracy theories, people don't want to hear the news anymore. People are fed up with the talking heads, and I don't mean the band.
It's been one that has been controversial, but that's partially because, as you see, especially now, we've talked about before on the right, this sort of rising tide of autocracy is also tied to a rising tide of misogyny. The Southern Poverty Law Center just had a poll about this. You know, we're seeing that there is this sort of anti-woman undercurrent in the rise of this autocratic movement on the far right that's tied to Trump. It's always been very anti-woman, and in some ways, it's working.
And so, Michelle, do you agree with what Lauren just said? Is that what's happening?
I think that's a huge part of what's happening, but not the entire.
Maybe we should ask a woman who still has eggs and who's still fertile and young and like marriage age and childbirthing age. Maybe we should ask a girl who still has her period. What do you think, sweeties?
Of it, because, you know, if it was just the right, that would be scary enough. But there's the disaffection on the left, I think, is slightly more complicated. It's not just, you know, accepting Trumpist-style misogyny, even unconsciously. It's a sense that the solutions that modern feminism proposes don't have much to say to the crises that a lot of young women feel like they're facing. You know, particularly, I think, a sort of professional class, lean-in style feminism doesn't speak to a generation that feels like the work world in general is a site of, you know, hostility and oppression.
But Lauren Leader, just to close real quick, I mean, with All In Together, what are you seeing? How are women? Is anything galvanizing them, especially younger women, or are they feeling defeated?
Well, no, I think that part of what we see in the work that we do is that when you make politics accessible, when you make it local, when you make it personal, when you give women the tools to engage with local leaders and see that they can have an impact, they turn out, and they do. And I think the big national sort of these sense of intractability and big issues can be a turnoff. But there are solutions, and the solution really is around getting engaged. And the more women get engaged in the political process, the more they turn out, the more they do see that they can make a difference, even in a very polarizing and difficult time.
Co-founder and CEO of All In Together, Lauren Leader, and New York Times columnist.
Wow, you're the commander and CEO, but you're not married and you don't have kids and you don't have any more eggs. Oh, well, I guess maybe in the next life. Oh, wait, there isn't one. Except Jesus Christ is your Lord and Savior. Perish, ladies.
Michelle Goldberg, thank you both very much for being on.
Goldberg. Let's Goldberg it. It's not rocket science, guys. It's really not rocket science. Men and women both might need to make compromises to get what they want. But your attraction to a woman as a man or a woman's attraction to a man is a very powerful thing. So girls are like, I want this like masculine driven man to just sweep me off my feet and bang me full of kids. And I just want him to sweep me off my feet. And, you know, that's what women want. They want some guy to just be at the center of their little world. And it's like, okay, well, if you want that, for me, you know, do the dishes sometimes, cook most of the time, and then just, like, don't give me too much lip. Okay, wee, sounds good. And then for women, it's like, hey, you know, if you want me to be your wife, maybe, like, don't say, like, a lot of, like, derogatory things and just kind of, like, nod your head and smile at some of the crap that I say sometimes, and, you know? Like, you just work it out, guys. You're supposed to find somebody you love. You're supposed to get married. Men don't want to be tortured to death hearing about this feminist dog shit. Women don't want to hear about, like, you know, the 80-20 rule and shit. Like, just shut up about your MGTOW and your feminism and just get married and have families, you know, before you look like these ladies, guys. Come on. Let's hope that it is. Overall, it's been a detrimental movement to progress over the last couple of decades, and holding on to it is a great way to not move forward on issues. Seething alert. You can't see it. Has the backlash begun? Really? I've been expecting it, but didn't think it'd start for another 20 years or so. It'll be interesting to see how far the pendulum swings in the other direction. Ha 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 ha. That's very foreboding. How far will the pendulum swing in the other direction? The other direction of what this society has been going through is basically Hitler's regime in World War II. And yeah, there's just been a steady little marking off the checklist, guys. And one of the marks on the checklist is somebody is going to come to the forefront and speak about the Jews. Check. Like, all these things are just slowly being checked off the checklist, you know, every 6 months by 6 months. It's like, yep, escalating war overseas, check. Declining economy, economic collapse, check. Somebody speaking out against the Jews, check. It's all happening, guys. Like, it's pretty scary. After hearing Michelle's take on Amber Heard and her spin on the trial in the U.S. and the trial in the U.K., I really can't take anything she says seriously. Gold, Michelle Goldberg. No, it is constantly being redefined because everyone can voice their opinions, and then people do the calculus to come up with a new definition. Also, love is an oppression, self-respect and self-esteem and self-worth. And extremism is not a virtue. To be honest, I think that the uber masculinity men and the hardcore feminists actually have a lot more in common than they realize. So it's a free society, compromise or don't compromise, whatever. All right. This has been a pretty beefy podcast today. We're covering a lot of time. Norwegian feminist faces jail time in Norway for stating the obvious. Tucker Carlson hype.
So it is quickly becoming illegal to point out that men are not women, no matter how they dress, no matter what kind of shoes they have, no matter what they paint their nails. So this is an attack not just on biology, but on speech, on conscience. You're not allowed to say obvious things. Here's an example. A self-described feminist in Norway called Christina Ellingsen is facing a 3-year sentence in prison. She's facing the possibility of going to jail for years because she affirmed the reality of biological sex. Specifically, Ellingsen tweeted that men...
Wow. Assisted suicide for children without the parents having a say. This whole thing, like, let the kids lead the way, let the kids decide. It's very satanic. Like, parents fucking own their children. People want to debate about whether or not a man owns his wife. I mean, that's not really a debate anymore. Men lost that a long time ago. Now, the parents don't even fucking own their kids. It's like, well, if your kid wants to become a tranny, it's like, he doesn't, though. He's getting fucking manipulated and handled and groomed by these fucking weird clown-faced groomer trannies that you bring into their school to fill their head full of dog shit goy slop when they're 6 years old.
Men cannot be lesbians. Probably never thought about this in any depth, but it's technically true. She also said that men cannot become mothers. Now, again, that's true. But in Norway, as in all of the West, the truth is no longer a defense. Norway is now investigating her for hate speech. We, of course, immediately wanted to talk to her. Christina Ellingsen joins us tonight. Christina, thanks so much for coming on. This is one of those stories, and Norway is obviously a highly civilized country. I think it's the richest country in the world. A lot of great people in Norway. It's hard to believe this is real, and so I just want to check, are we leaving anything out?
No, that's right. This is the case. I've been, well, you can't defend women if you can't define what a woman is. And all over the world, stating biological fact is considered by a lot of groups as being directly hateful. So yeah, this is what I've been doing. I've been stating the obvious fact that men cannot be women. Men cannot be girls, yes, or mothers or lesbian. And now I'm facing the risk of 3 years in prison.
Wow.
Tell me how the country of Norway, again, a country to which we give every benefit of every doubt, filled with good people, beautiful place. But are you celebrated as a hero by people who still believe in science and free speech? Are people supporting you?
Well, a lot of people are supporting me across the entire spectrum of politics.
You guys, a lot of men. Wow, this is like, it's time to have a talk, you guys. This sweetie is maybe facing 3 years in prison for saying that men can't be mothers. This is scary shit, you guys, because American men, when this shit tries to come to the United States, it's time. It's time, bro. Like when politicians start trying to enforce these things here, that's what the Second Amendment is about. That's what the right to form militias is about. It's here, you guys. It's in these other countries. I know that I've said a lot of anti-American things, but there is a part of me that appreciates the freedom of this country. Okay, I am grateful for my ability to grow up safely, to have a safe, free existence here. When these fucking tranny lovers try to take over this country, it's time. It's time for the Second Amendment to come into play. It's time to rip these people out of their fucking homes and do the right thing in Minecraft.
Political, religious, everything. But a lot of people are also considering me on level with someone who's calling for genocide. I've been compared to everything from a fascist to a Maoist to a supporter of Westboro Baptist Church, which I don't even know what is. But basically, on the entire spectrum of everything that's...
I'm way too carved up for today, dude. I'm like really carved up for this stream, bros. I think any more carved up than I carved today, I'd probably get sick and throw up. Like, I just blasted 120 carbs. I'm a little popped up right now.
...bad in the world is being hurled my way. Absolutely. But also a lot of support.
Are you surprised? I think you're on, I'm just guessing, but I think you're on the left. I don't think you're a right-winger. I think you're from Norway. Are you surprised by all of this?
Unfortunately, I'm not surprised because this has been in the cards for a long time. If you can't talk about biological reality, it's unavoidable. This is simply unavoidable. But yeah, no, I align myself with radical feminism. I've been voting left all my life. Now I'm much more critical to what they are actually saying, and it seems like all parties in Norway are supporting this pseudoscience.
Scary. We know the feeling. Thank you for joining us tonight, Christine Ellington. Very much appreciate it. Subscribe to the Fox News.
I'm freaking carved up, dude. Let's see if anybody in the comments. Whoo, boy, this one was spicy. This was pretty spicy. I think I'm in the clear for like strikes and stuff, but I got pretty spicy today. I'm pretty carved up. And I was really spicy last night. I'm a spicy meatball this week, you guys. Imprisoning someone for stating men cannot be lesbians or men cannot be mothers is like imprisoning someone for stating the sky is blue. Doesn't matter if she's correct or not. I think we can all agree that jail time for an opinion is just insane. There's a lot of insanity happening. And yeah, some people are like, yeah, things have already gone too far in this country. I mean, the debate on free speech versus hate speech. You know, I think if you call like a black guy the N-word before you beat him up and then it goes to court, this is a legitimate example. Let's say you like screamed the N-word at a black guy and then you assault him and then it goes to court. Calling him the N-word could be evidence of a hate crime. So when they're saying that like hate speech isn't free speech, I disagree. I think that saying anything is free speech, but say you like say something and then you kick the shit out of somebody, whatever you said could be used as evidence to support that it was a hate crime. But you guys, this whole hate speech isn't free speech it's taking away the freedom of speech in disguise. It's a technicality. This is how basically the fucking totalitarian 1984 surveillance state is wearing a pussy hat. It's wearing a pussy hat and a Future is Female shirt and a Trans Lives Matter shirt. Like, that's how they're bringing it. That's how they're rolling out the regime, you guys. It's knocking at the door. New York Post, why 60 years of feminism has not made women any happier. Hot off the press 2 days ago. In February, we will mark the 60th anniversary of Betty Friedan's feminine mystique. But given the state of modern feminism, it's hard to imagine there will be much celebration. Friedan's work, which revealed women's lack of fulfillment as homemakers, laid out the goals of second-wave feminism. Now that women had achieved the right to vote, own property, and get an education, the first wave, Friedan and her cohorts argued that women should pursue higher education and careers as a way of achieving personal satisfaction. Others, like Germaine Greer, wrote that the sexual repression of women prevented them from becoming personally fulfilled. But thanks to the pill and changing mores about sex outside of marriage, women could finally achieve the freedom and happiness that had been available to men for millennia. Yeah, the freedom and happiness to just fuck everything that moves and ruin your ability to pair bond. So how's that working out now? The American Family Survey recently asked, all things considered, has feminism benefited American families? Only a little more than half, 58.6% of respondents said yes. What's interesting, though, is the people who said yes also tend to be among the least happy and fulfilled. In survey after survey, it turns out that people who espouse a secular worldview, people who identify as liberals, and people who never attend religious services report the lowest levels of personal satisfaction. Seething. Absolutely seething. But they also report the highest levels of support for feminist ideals. Wow. This is the NY Post, guys. This isn't fake news. This is the NY Post. Did a big survey trying to figure out what's going on, and the numbers are in, kiddos. The people who support feminism are the least happy. Loving this. But they also report the highest levels of support for feminist ideals. Indeed, as feminism's influence has grown over the past half century, women have become less happy. And nobody cares what men have become. Like, men are, like, killing themselves more than ever. More men than ever have left the dating market. They've left the universities. Like, and women are unhappy. And what about the men? The men are all fucking killing themselves, and they've been gone. Men have been killing themselves and left society a decade ago. Like, nobody ever fucking asked how men are feeling. But yeah, women aren't happy. If feminism promised personal satisfaction, it doesn't seem to be delivering it. In order to understand this failure, it's probably best to look at how feminist leaders wanted to achieve personal fulfillment. Primarily, they believed that if men took over more domestic responsibility, housework, and childcare, women would have more time and energy to achieve what they wanted in the workplace. Wait, what? Oh yeah, that's how feminist leaders wanted to achieve personal fulfillment. They wanted men to take more domestic responsibility. So men should do the dishes, men should sweep and take care of the kids, change the baby's diapers. So women have more time and energy to achieve what they wanted in the workplace. So basically, men should become women and be stay-at-home fathers, and women should fucking work, is what that is saying. And I can tell you a big part of why that's not happening, women, because a lot of men would be more than happy to do that. You do not select for motherly domestic men. If that's really what you wanted and your biology wasn't a factor, you'd be like, okay, what kind of a guy is going to want to stay at home and change diapers and cook, and a 5'7" beta soy boy who plays fucking video games? That's who. And that's your ideal husband, right, ladies? Well, no. You want the big fucking rootin' tootin' 6'4" football player, and the way he's wired is to provide and to dominate and not to change diapers. So what women select for has absolutely fucking nothing to do with this feminist agenda of men need to clean more, men need to cook more, so I can, but you're not attracted to that at all. What you're attracted to didn't change at all. Look at their faces, dude. I really am being trained to hate women's faces, and it's very sad. It's really sad, dude. I hate all their faces in different ways. Like, this chick's not attractive. This chick is just, like, she just looks like a bitch. This chick just, like, this girl's kind of hot, but she looks like a dumb bitch. She looks like a dumb airhead bitch. Like, they just all look so fucking dumb in so many different ways. But frankly, given the whole patriarchal structure of the nuclear family, many feminists would have been happy to dispense with traditional marriage altogether. Yeah, like 1984. If that happened and women still did want to bear children, something many feminists did not encourage, well, someone was still going to have to support them. And so feminist leaders also demanded more government support for women. This is absolutely fucking insane. They wanted to get rid of marriage altogether, but if a woman still wants to have a kid, somebody's got to take care of the kid. So basically this feminist utopia is marriage is gone, women get pregnant by a fucking sperm donor, and then the single mother raises the kid supported by the state. That's the feminist fucking utopia. That's what this article is saying that feminists want. It's so fucking sick and inhuman and just... we shouldn't be dealing with it, bro. Because I don't really believe with free speech. I see a really fucking easy solution to this. Like, you want to fight women? Like, I think we should just shut these women up. I think we should just shut them up. Put them in fucking prison until they shut the fuck up. Are you ready to come out and be a woman yet? Nope. Stay in the fucking gulag, sweetie. That's your career. You want to be a career woman? You can slave away in the gulag for 20 years. That's the way I do it, baby. Woo! I'm pumped up on carbs. I'm pumped up as fuck on carbs, dude. Woo! Put him in the gulag. As political commentator Ellie Mae O'Hagan wrote for The Guardian a few years ago, only by diminishing the power of the boss class and giving female workers more access to collectively owned social goods can we ensure... Okay, I need to actually pay attention to this. One more time. As political commentator Ellie Mae O'Hagan wrote for The Guardian a few years ago, only by diminishing the power of the boss class and giving female workers more access to collectively owned social goods can we ensure that no woman is forced to choose between sexual and economic exploitation and poverty. So basically, like, communism for women. So basically, like, socialism that is only for women. Like, dude, it's just... It's childish. These people should not be given a platform. This is just really look at that. You guys, they're really trying to make you hate women, okay? Like, when you look at Sandman, look at, like, MGTOW, okay? Sandman and then other MGTOW. You see how they always have, like, their thumbnail? It's like some dumb woman. It's just, like, this is perfect. This is custom made for you to hate her. Whee! Chad, wee! I'm getting so many matches, wee! Like, they're trying to train you to hate women, dude. Fight it! But even feminists who don't wear their socialism on their sleeves believe that women should have more access to government-funded childcare and paid family leave in order to fulfill their dreams. Are we still on the air? I feel like we're not. Okay, we are. I'm a little nervous about today. But even feminists who don't wear this... books like Overwhelmed by Bridget Schultz and Opting Back In by Pamela Stone and Meg Lovejoy, or most recently, Ambitious Like a Mother by Laura Bazelon, all end with similar admonitions that in order for women to get what they want out of work in life, the U.S. should become more like Sweden or Norway. More like Norway, where a feminist woman is maybe getting 3 years in prison for speaking out against, that trans men can't be mothers. We should be more like that. And yet, just as men have been contributing more to housework and childcare since the early days of feminism, the government has also been doing a lot more to support mothers. It's true, we don't have universal daycare, but we do subsidize the income of working class and poor single mothers to a much greater extent than we used to. Oh shit, I never saw the Tupac movie, dude. They came out with a Tupac movie, didn't they? You see, guys, a lot of rapper movies, a lot of rappers, they have the stereotypical single mother welfare black mom. And a lot of these movies, like what was it? I think they had an NWA movie, a Tupac movie, a Biggie movie. A lot of these movies and these rappers are red-pilled on single mothers, bro. Like, a lot of the reason their lives were so chaotic as children is because their single mom was just taking a welfare check and smoking fucking government-funded cigarettes and crack, dude. It's dark. Like, single motherhood isn't really a positive thing. Now, sometimes it just is what it is. Sometimes the father leaves. Ladies, I know sometimes you got to do what you got to do, but these women want to be single mothers, and they openly want government funding to be single mothers. They want to normalize it. It's a very negative thing. A lot of guys will tell you that not having a father influence is, like, devastating. So why hasn't this help contributed to women being happier? Why, if anything, do women seem less happy and more overwhelmed than they were in the 1960s? In 1963, Betty Friedan was writing about the problem that had no name, but women's problem in the 21st century can absolutely be named. More often, they are trying to raise children on their own, which can be exhausting even with financial resources. They are sexually liberated. But that often means they are going from one relationship to another without any sense of financial security or emotional stability. And while many are no doubt fulfilled in their careers, a lot of them actually enjoy raising children. But they can't spend the bulk of their time doing this. Thanks to financial exigencies and society's expectations. Well, I know what the problem is. This is when you take the fucking belt out and you teach women how to act. That's what the Bible says. Like, beating women is in the Bible. Like, women are fucking losing it. They just need a good old smack in the fucking jaw. Hey, sweetie, knock that stupid horseshit out of your head, okay, sweetie pants? I don't want to hear that shit about the government raising children. I don't want to hear that shit about you getting paid to fucking get inseminated and raise children by your shit. Just knock that shit out. It's fucking stupid. You'll thank me for it later. That's your childish woman brain. You're getting your head full of lies by this fucking demonic commie system. Just fucking knock it out. I'm the man. That's my kid too. Sit the fuck down. You want to fight? You don't want to fight. Knock this stupid fucking horse shit out of your fucking head. I don't want to hear about it again. Every time you bring it up, I'm going to fucking smack you. That's the solution in the Bible. That's what God says to do. And that's what should be done. These women are fucking loony. We've had our rights, we've had our God-given rights taken away to put our women in check, and they're all fucking losing it. All right. Should Christians celebrate Halloween? You guys go ahead and get rolling on this. I gotta go to the bathroom. We'll be right back.
Should Christians celebrate Halloween, or is it some man-made pagan demonic holiday that Christians need to avoid? Or is there really nothing wrong with me dressing up my son in a Superman outfit and passing out some candy to some kids? That is the question we want to address today on The Beat. Coming up. Hey, my friend, welcome back to The Beat. My name is Alan Parr. Thank you so much for tuning in. If this is your first time here, it's a pleasure. If you want a free ebook, click the link in the description box below. If you enjoy this video, consider subscribing, hit that little bell notification so you won't miss a beat. Okay, so here is another one of those questions in terms of, should a Christian be able to do this? Do I have the freedom to be able to do this? And is God going to be pleased with me if I do this or if I choose not to do this? And once again, Halloween wasn't around in biblical times, so there is no clear verse in the Bible that says thou shalt not celebrate Halloween. But the question is, are there some principles that we can look at in terms of how we conduct ourselves and how we behave on October 31st? So I know you probably want me to give you a black and white yes or no answer, but as you know by now, I'm not going to do that. I am not God. I am not the Holy Spirit in your life. I trust that the Spirit of God is going to lead you in one direction or another. But I do want to give you 5 things to avoid, or consider rather, when we are talking about this issue of should Christians celebrate Halloween. Number 1, I want to encourage you to avoid what's called the genetic fallacy. And I'm going to read exactly what that is. Essentially, this is the fallacy of irrelevance that is based solely on someone's or something's history, origin, or source, rather than its current meaning or context. In other words, it's basically saying that, hey, because this thing had a pagan origin to it, then therefore I'm going to disregard what it means in our society today, and I'm just going to eliminate it and say, you know what, this must be of the devil. Let me just say this. If you are going to do that, then there's a lot of things in our culture and in our society that you're also going to not be able to take part of. For instance, one of them would be your birthday. Birthdays are not in the Bible. There's nothing in the Bible.
All right, really quick. Well, you want to know one of my favorite moments from Family Guy? It's in one of the later seasons where Meg turns 18 and Quagmire starts hitting on Meg. And then at the end of the episode, Meg is at Quagmire's cabin. And, you know, it starts with Peter just kind of trying to say, you know, blah, 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 he's taking advantage of you. I don't remember the episode that well, but I remember how the episode ends. And he says, Meg, get in the fucking car. He doesn't leave it as an option. And she's 18. I'm 18. I can do what I want. Meg, get in the fucking car. He makes Meg get in the car. And, you know, after a few days, she thanks him for it. Like, she realizes that he was right. She was getting manipulated by his older, creepy friend. And, you know, he tries, like, he's older, he's manipulating you, he's not serious. And what does it come down to? Meg, get in the fucking car. You're my daughter. This isn't happening. And that ain't misogyny, and that ain't fucking patriarchy. That's a man doing his job. And, you know, it's a hypothetical situation is your wife is into some weird tranny shit. And she's like, you know, the teacher was saying that he thinks that, like, Bryce was meant to be a boy and that he should consider transitioning. And it's like, you know what? That's not fucking happening. We're taking him out of that class. And then one day it's like, where are you going, sweetie? I'm taking Bryce to the doctor. You're not thinking straight. I'm taking Bryce to the doctor right now and putting him on transitioning meds. Hand on the fucking door. No, you're not. You're not getting through this fucking door with those keys. You're not taking my son to get put on transitioning meds. You ain't getting through this fucking door with my son. Like, that ain't patriarchy. That ain't misogyny. That's a man doing what a man is supposed to do. And they're trying to take fathers out of the families. They're trying to take men out of the picture. You guys, it ain't fucking rocket science. It's a fucking smack in the jaw. It's a fucking hand on the door. It's your fucking muscles. It's taking shit back. It's taking shit back. It's real. It's the godly solution. It's the truth.
The Bible that says you need to take a day of the year and celebrate yourself, and it should be all about you. But we do that, and that's a man-made idea. So if you are okay with celebrating your birthday, which has a man-made origin to it, then you may also be okay with celebrating Halloween. Another one would be the days of the week. Sunday. We don't see anything wrong with saying Sunday, but Sunday was created in reference to the sun god, or Monday to the moon god. So we use these words and these phrases all the time, but we don't think and say, well, because it had some pagan origin to it, that I'm not going to call today Sunday or tomorrow Monday. So I think it's a very, very weak argument to throw Halloween completely out simply because it had some pagan origins to it, particularly because That is not what it means in our current culture today. Nobody is trying to conjure up evil spirits and speak to the dead and do all those things. And if you are, then I'm going to talk about that later in this video. That is not something that you need to be a part of. The second thing that I want to encourage you to do is to avoid the misuse of Christian freedom. Now, I wanted to get this one in early on this video, just in case you do not watch anything else. And in this, I want to talk primarily to the older people, because some people see Halloween as an opportunity to do some things and engage in certain behaviors that they would not normally engage in at any other time during the year. Notice 1 Peter 2:16 says, live as free people, but do not use your freedom as a cover up for evil. And then Ephesians 5:13, Paul says, for you have been called to live in freedom, my brothers and sisters, but don't use your freedom to satisfy your sinful nature. And essentially what Peter and Paul is saying is, you and I have been given this great, amazing gift from God to be able to have freedom and liberty to enjoy certain activities that are going on in this world that the Old Testament saints didn't have because they were under the Old Testament law. But anticipating that some people would take it too far, Peter and Paul are saying, you know what? I need to put this extra disclaimer and warning in here. Make sure that when you're using your Christian freedom and your liberty and you're enjoying the things of this world, that you don't see this as an opportunity to indulge in the desires, the sinful fleshly desires of your flesh. Let me give you some examples. Let's say you're going to a Halloween party, but you see that as an opportunity to wear that cat suit that accentuates certain parts of your body, that draws attention to certain parts of your body, so that you know when you go to that party, it's going to make every man in there lust after certain parts of your body. Well, if you are not normally going to wear provocative material, then don't use Halloween as an opportunity to carry out the desire of your flesh. Let's say you're going to a party and you don't normally drink to the point where you're tipsy or you're drunk. Don't use Halloween as a cover up or as an excuse or an opportunity to get drunk or to get tipsy when that's not normally your behavior. Let's say you don't normally listen to or dance to vulgar music that has offensive lyrics. Don't use Halloween as an opportunity to say, okay, man, this is my time to go and party and have a good time and celebrate all this demonic stuff. Listen, the idea here is do not come out of your Christian character on October 31st or the days leading up to that simply because you have the freedom and you want to celebrate Halloween. Number 3, avoid being legalistic about this entire thing. I've said this so many times before in my videos, but essentially, avoid having a particular perspective or opinion or personal bias about what you think the Bible says when the Bible clearly does not say anything specifically about this. Essentially, legalism in most basic form is whenever we speak on behalf of God in areas that God has not spoken, and we push those personal biases on other people and we make them feel like they are less spiritual or less of a Christian than we are because they are doing some things that maybe we don't feel comfortable doing. We are acting exactly like the New Testament Pharisees that Jesus was in consistent conflict with, and this is how he described them. He says, their worship is a farce, for they teach man-made ideas as commands from God. Do you see that? They take man-made ideas and man-made traditions. Is not in the Bible. Nobody says this is what, God never said this is what I'm saying. He says they take those man-made ideas and teach them as if they were commands from God. And so basically, in terms of this idea of Halloween, be careful that you are not legalistic and speaking where God has not spoken. Number 4, avoid violating your own conscience. Now, the Bible talks about, to him who knows to do right and does not do it, to him it is sin. Also, if you look at 1 Corinthians 8 and Romans chapter 14, Paul makes it very clear that different Christians have different consciences in terms of what they're comfortable with and what they're not. So if you feel like you do not want to take part in Halloween, and you don't want to pass out candy, and you don't want to put costumes on, and you don't want to dress your kids up in any way, shape, or form, then by all means, you should not do that. And you have every right to do that, because if it's violating your conscience, rather, then that is something that you need to pay attention to, because God may be trying to avoid you from having a certain experience or getting involved in this because it may not be right for you. And then finally, number 5, avoid anything that may appear to be demonic in nature. As a matter of fact, Paul said in Ephesians, have nothing to do with the fruitless deeds of darkness, but rather expose them. So if you are going to celebrate Halloween, don't go dressing up in ghouls and goblins and skull and bones and somebody that's got blood all over them, looks like they've murdered somebody. All of these are deeds of darkness that the devil celebrates. So if you dress up your kids, yes, you can dress them up in Superman or Superwoman or their favorite superhero or whatever, because ask the question, am I getting involved in deeds of darkness by dressing my kid up as Superman? Probably not. But if I'm putting them in some sort of skull and bones outfit or something like that, or if I'm an adult and I'm wearing something that is seductive in nature, would that be considered a deed of darkness that I need to avoid? Probably so. Now, the last thing I'll say is if you go to a church where they are having, let's say, a fall festival or something like that, use that as an opportunity to invite your unsaved friends to your church, so that hopefully they'll say, you know what, Christians can have a good time. Yes, kids are getting dressed and they're having candy and whatnot, but hopefully that will be an evangelistic opportunity for them to actually come to your church at a later time, because they see that the people are nice, the church is nice, they felt welcome and whatnot. So use that as an opportunity to invite your unsaved friends, and some of your kids have friends that may not be saved as well. And in terms of you passing out candy at your house, once again, use that as an opportunity to engage in relationships with your neighbors. Maybe these are people that you haven't seen in a very long time, or maybe you don't know your neighbors at all. Maybe this is an opportunity for you to have that type of dialogue with them and form a relationship with them, or pass out candy that has a track to it or a scripture verse attached to it or something. But what I'm saying is take advantage of the opportunity if you choose to celebrate Halloween by engaging the outside world with your hospitality and the message of the gospel. So I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Leave it in the comments.
All right, couple of comments here. Mr. Parr, avoid anything that might appear to be demonic in nature. Me, all of Halloween. Yeah, a lot of Christians are anti-Halloween. For me, it's like, what constitutes celebrating it? I carved a pumpkin. Do I think I did something horrible and wicked for carving a pumpkin? I think I wasted like some money and ate some gross seeds that I threw in the garbage. I'm probably not going to do it anymore, mainly because I just think it's like kind of a waste. I don't know, man. I have a lot of comfy, nostalgic feelings about Halloween, which, you know, is no excuse if it's demonic. Should Christians never watch horror movies? Because all it really amounts to for me is I watch horror movies. I used to be a huge horror movie fan. Over the years, I kind of grew out of it. So for me, Smeartober is really my time to watch a bunch of horror movies. As soon as this podcast is over, guys, I'm going to download Jason Goes to Hell, Freddy vs. Jason. I should probably watch the Jason remake. I'm going to try to watch all of those tonight, dude. That's going to be my big kickoff. I got so far in the Jason marathon, you guys. I gotta finish it out. Jason Goes to Hell, the new Jason, Freddy versus Jason, and I'm just going to call it. And I'm just going to call it for Smeartober. But one more thing, you guys, before we get out of here. What do you do if my channel takes a strike? What do we do if my channel takes a strike, guys? And ultimately, I want all of you to do this right now, buddies. If you haven't, you type Reformed Stoic backup. Okay. Here we go. Reformed Stoic 2 backup. And this is my backup channel. This is my backup channel for everybody who didn't see the podcast when I was gone. I got all of my... Well, there's a live tab. That's kind of weird. That must be new. I've got all of the podcasts from when I was gone over here. So, Reform Stoic 2 Backup. This is my backup channel. I kindly ask you to sub here if you haven't. Today was very spicy. Some very spicy meatballs today. I think we should be good. I think we're good. But, just in case, just be ready with the backup, friendos, because I don't really want to cuck out on the things I'm trying to say. I was carved up today. I was feeling like a man. I said some man shit. It is what it is. Podcast is staying up. If she dies, he dies. If he dies, he dies. If we take a strike, we take a strike. It would be a shame because the last strike I have wears off on November 17th. I'm so close to getting rid of all the strikes. We're in line to start getting monetized soon. I'm going to have to try to be careful in the future. I want to be professional. I want to not get myself in trouble, but we said some shit today. For the record, I do not endorse beating women, okay? There you go. Thank you for being here, my friends. I'm going to read a little bit of the Bible just to feel good about that, and I'm going to fire up some horror movies, man, and I'm going to smear it up for the rest of Smeartober. November 1st tomorrow. We will see what this next month brings and what the winter brings. So far, it's brought some crazy winds over here in my town. I appreciate you guys. Hey, we almost made it for 2 hours today. Finally, one more I didn't really have to try for it to last very long. But it is what it is. We do what we got to do. God bless you, friends. We'll probably do a coffee stream tomorrow, and I'll see you for the next podcast on Wednesday.